are some fans who believe that Richard Malkin was a conman. Other fans believe that his gifts were totally real. The showrunners wanted to keep the nature of Malkin relatively ambiguous by presenting us with two possibilities. One possibility is rooted in the cynicism of the real world, while the other is rooted in the fantasy of a world beyond our understanding. However, the supporting evidence within the show does ultimately lean more towards one explanation over the other. Let us begin by deconstructing the theory that Richard Malkin was indeed telling Mr. Echo the truth. That he is a fraud who cons people for a living by pretending to be a psychic. We can apply this very logic to the way we analyze Season 1 episode Raised by Another. Richard Malkin presents to his customers as a psychic. According to what he told Mr. Echo, he gathers intelligence on his customers then exploits it somehow. But we know Claire comes to the psychic of her own accord. A drop-in visit arranged through her friend. Some people have suggested that Claire's friend, Rachel, must have been involved in the scam in some way. But nothing in the scene or the friend's behavior suggests this. In fact, the very idea that Claire's girlfriend is involved in what becomes the most needlessly elaborate con is implausible in the extreme. There is no way that Malkin could have anticipated that Claire Littleton was coming to see him and, therefore, no way he could do advanced research. So, there is no way he could know that she recently found out she was pregnant. A very capable cold reader could pick up on this fact if a woman was showing early signs of pregnancy, but Claire isn't at this point. If it's simply a guess, then it's one of the most lucky guesses in con game history because it is the first thing Malkin observes. Malkin claims to see something that supposedly unnerves him during this reading and ultimately turns Claire away. He even gives her the money back. If he is conning Claire here, what exactly is the point in doing this? Is he hoping that Claire will be intrigued enough by his rejection that she will return for another reading? Because until her life goes pear-shaped much later on, she had absolutely no interest in coming back to find anything more. But let's continue playing out the logic behind this all being a scam a little bit further. When Claire does eventually return for another reading following the breakup of her relationship, she tells him how she plans to give up the baby for adoption. It appears that conman Malkin is in luck, because her revelation surely now gives him the absolutely perfect opportunity to capitalize on this. I.e. influencing her to sell her baby to a specifically chosen couple so he can make a profit. After all, his mark is willing. Claire is ripe for being taken advantage of. But Malkin does the complete opposite. He tells her that she herself must raise the baby. In fact, he insists on Claire raising her own child so aggressively that he actually freaks her out and scares her off. He then continues to harass Claire with late-night phone calls for months on end, which could very well have seen Claire call the cops on him. And he is still insisting, in fact begging, that Claire must keep this child. Ask yourself, where is the logic in this scam? Why not simply introduce the idea of letting him find the right couple for her baby to be safe with? He is doing nothing but driving Claire away further. After Claire is struck by another moment of intervention from the island during the adoption signing, she returns to Malkin to hear him out. However, the con man has now done a complete 180-degree turn. Now he recommends that Claire does give the baby up for adoption. If he simply wanted to make some money by brokering a deal between Claire and an adoptive couple, then why did he spend so long sabotaging that very plan by telling his mark to do the total opposite of what he wanted her to ultimately do? It makes no sense. Claire almost signed away the baby to someone else while Malkin fumbled through this sloppy, nonsensical scam. His actions in these flashbacks are totally illogical if we are to truly believe he is a fraud. If an expert like Sawyer had heard about the plan for this long con, he would have most definitely slapped Malkin across the face for thinking up something so silly.
Whatever's happening...
Oi! What bloody hell do you think you're doing?
Shut it, Ginger. You're getting one too.
Claire was right when she realized that there was no couple waiting in LA to adopt Aaron. The series established that psychic abilities were absolutely real. We meet people with supernatural gifts throughout the show. People that harness an unconscious connection with the light and who demonstrate a degree of psychic sensitivity. Malkin's abilities are perhaps more closely aligned to those that we see Walt demonstrate in an early form. Think of the scene when Walt warns John Locke about the hatch after they make a brief connection. It is almost the exact same mirror scene of what takes place between Claire and Malkin. Physical touch is an important recurring motif in Lost when it comes to the supernatural. The source uses those with psychic sensitivity to help shepherd people and events along a certain path. What we have referred to previously as the tapestry of time. Did Malkin know the specifics of Claire's future in its totality? No, but he would have felt the potency of this intuition and the intensity of the source. Even though he couldn't fully articulate the feeling, it will guide his actions over the next few months in order to get Claire to where she needed to be. The only reason Malkin told Mr. Echo that he was a fraud was to get rid of the man. He knows that Echo, a priest of all people, would never accept the truth about psychic gifts and precognition. Furthermore, Malkin did not want to become a media spectacle with his family being investigated by the church. Who knows how that would impact their lives? Malkin says that miracle that happened to his daughter was not a miracle at all and that he is a fraudulent psychic being punished by his wife with this tall tale. Except, we know that his daughter genuinely did die and come back to life. Not only do we hear the incredibly unsettling evidence of it from the coroner's own tape recording and haunted reaction, but it is further proved by Charlotte Malkin herself. She comes back from the dead with a message for Echo from Yemi. That is because she went to the flash sideways and experienced a glimpse of the other side. Much like we see Desmond experienced in Season 6 when he is zapped by the electromagnetic blast. So, if this miracle did legitimately happen to his daughter, and we know that psychic gifts are real in the Lost Universe, then why can't Richard Malkin's powers be genuine? Remember, always measure a statement made by an unreliable character against what we see them do. And we see Richard Malkin directly lead Claire to the island based on his deep intuition. The context of this scene in the Season 2 episode, must also be measured against the on-island narrative. The show wants us to question Malkin's authenticity without confirming whether or not we should dismiss him altogether. The reason this scene with Echo exists is to mirror the themes of Season 2. The question Season 2 wants us to ask is, what is real and what is fraudulent? The Pearl Station makes Locke question everything he thought he believed about the button, making him doubt his own faith in a higher meaning and purpose to his life. However, this same revelation actually reaffirms Echo's own faith and serves to make him a true believer. Both men read the same text completely differently. The Pearl's orientation video creates doubt in Locke in the same way Malkin creates doubt in Echo, and by extension us as an audience. We are offered up a real-world, cynical explanation behind an ambiguous mystery that might otherwise have more fantastical underpinnings. Is the button in the hatch really saving the world? Is Malkin really a psychic? At the end of Season 2, we finally learn that the button is saving the world. It wants us to understand that even the most seemingly fantastical explanations are indeed absolutely possible. So, what exactly happened to Malkin during Claire's first reading? He explains that he saw something that scared him. In the second reading, he probes further into this feeling. For reasons that Malkin cannot fully articulate, he senses that Claire's baby will be in grave danger without her in its life. The source is guiding him in the same way it later guides Desmond with the flashes of Charlie's various deaths. In the same way it guides Locke through dreams that lead him to where he needs to go next. In the same way it guides Hurley through the ghosts of those that have died. Over the course of the next few months, Malkin receives very specific information that he needs to impart to Claire. We do not know in what form this information comes to him, but it could quite possibly be through dreams. Regardless of how it happens, he now knows that Claire must board a very specific flight on a very specific day. This is why he is so adamant about 8:15. If there was a couple in Los Angeles, the flight could have been at any point that day or week. It certainly wouldn't have needed to be that particular flight. Malkin doesn't know why this is so essential, he just feels that it is absolutely imperative. This is because he is being guided by the island. By the time Claire comes back to him, ready and willing to listen, he knows the only way to get her on that plane is to change tact and embrace the adoption narrative, playing into Claire's ambivalence about the baby. He already has the ticket ready for her. And so Claire finally agrees. Following Malkin's instructions to the letter, the island influences whatever it can, wherever it has to, in order to channel events towards their predestined path. Claire's path was to go to the island so she could participate in the grand tapestry of time, and ultimately raise her son in the future once the world had been saved. Perhaps as a karmic reward, or through a twist of fate, Richard Malkin is given a second chance with his own child after she is returned from death. Charlotte Malkin's resurrection validates the existence of the supernatural and her father's work in helping people get to where they need to be. Thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe to see more videos in future. Until the next time, stay lost.